Hey, it's Christina. They are supposed to call me back here, so I'm waiting on the return phone call from the administrator. So whenever it rings, then there we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm here. Sorry about that. Okay,
Merge?
yeah, I figured it out. I found the merge button instead of the other one.
Okay.
Okay, hold on just a second.
National Advocates for Pregnant Women.
Yes, can I speak to Kylie, please? This is Christina. She's waiting on a phone call from me.
Sure, one second.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, this is Kylie.
Hey, Kylie, it's Christina. You ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm merging us now. Okay. All right, we're all on here. Kylie, you're here?
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
Okay.
Okay. Can you tell me what your name is? I'm sorry. Yes, my name is Kylie Central, and I'm an attorney at a national legal and advocacy group called National Advocates for Pregnant Women. And your last name is what again? I'm sorry, I couldn't get it. Oh, that's okay. It's Sunderland. And can you spell that for me? Yes, it's Sunderlin. And may I ask who's on the call, please? Yeah, this is Kayla Davis, and I'm a program administrator for Child Protective. And Marty, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Yes, this is Marty Semeniego. I'm a program director with CPS. And for Torres, investigative supervisor. And I'm Stacey Barfield. I'm an FBSS supervisor. Okay, great. Thanks so much. Okay, and is there anyone else on the line, Ms. Pena, other than you and your attorney?
No, that's just me and her.
Okay, and you're giving us permission to go ahead and speak in front of her, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe, Ms. Pena, when you contacted me, you stated that you were concerned with, I guess, what we found, the disposition on your case, and also that we wanted to provide services to you. Is that
Yes.
kind of a summation?
Well, yes, that's correct because I wanted to know what the specific allegations were against me because I was never told what the allegations were.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let Ms. Torres talk with you about that because she's the investigative supervisor. Because it's my understanding that not only has the investigative worker spoken with you about the allegations, but I believe Ms. Torres spoke with you as late as last Friday. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes, I did speak to her.
Okay. And so once again, we'll go over what the allegations were and what the finding was on the case.
Okay.
And then why we feel like we need to provide some services to your family, and then you can let us know at that point what you want to do in regard to receipt of those services. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we received a report on November 24th, 2014 regarding the physical abuse of, can you speak louder? Okay, and regarding the physical abuse of a newborn child due to the child being exposed to an addiction and using methadone for withdrawal. The report was actually called out initially to not response, who is not investigation, who went out and made contact with the family initially. At that point, we verified that the child was having withdrawals, and that mom disclosed that she was taking medication prescribed by a doctor for pain management. And at that point, also, the other kids were interviewed in the home. One of the children, the older child, made a outcry of domestic violence in the past in the home, and then also there was concerns about other older children, possibly that mom didn't have possession of. So that was concerns in the investigation. After we initiated the investigation and gathered additional information, we discovered that there were more than one doctor that was prescribing medications to mom. We had 2 OB doctors as well as Dr. Patel, the pain management doctor. Out of all these 3 doctors, all three doctors expressed concern about mom having possible drug-seeking behavior. Also, there were concerns that the doctors felt like mom was not being honest about what medication she was on. Based on those issues, we had a safety plan in place and mom would be supervised. We tried to find family to assist dad. Although there was domestic violence, we had concerns about that. We felt like that could be addressed through family-based services since there was not a recent incident of domestic violence between the parents. And so when dad was off work, he could supervise mom. We then referred the case to family-based safety services, and mom agreed that she would work services and the family would participate with that. We offered the family some services through Christmas and assistance with that, as well as mom had a hair strand conducted earlier in the investigation where she was negative on her hair strand. And currently right now she's stating she's not taking any medications from any of the different doctors. The latest doctor we talked to, Dr. Patel, who discharged her, does feel like mom needs to have some type of treatment, that he felt like what he was providing as a pain management doctor was not sufficient. We outlined all the different doctor's notes as well as concerns we had. So the actual report initially that came in for physical abuse, we did do unable to determine. However, based on finding the last doctor's notes and the different doctors all having concerns, we added the allocation of neglectful supervision for the baby by mom, and we did a reason to believe. Now, the other kids, based on what we knew, the call records from the year prior, and just the overall exposure, we did unable to determine on the other kids, but we did find reason to believe on the baby for neglectful supervision.
Okay, can I state something on that? Because I know that you had said something about the notes from Dr. Hernandez. She was the doctor before Dr. Neef, and she was a specialist doctor for medication exposure, and she was aware of the Subutex that I was taking. She started prescribing the tramadol, and then as soon as the medication was at a level, because she told me to wean down before the baby was born, she went ahead and said that I could go back to Dr. Neef because there was no way that I was going to be able to make it to Fort Worth to deliver the baby all the way in Fort Worth. So that's why I had went back to Dr. Neef, who delivered my daughter before her. But I was not seeing two doctors at the same time. I was not seeing two doctors.
I'm reading her records, and right now, just to make sure I had it in front of me, and what she's documenting is something you might want to address with her. But what she's documenting is that you didn't show up anymore, and then ended up going to Dr. Neef. Can she document her concern? And as far as counting the pills and putting how often you were calling to get more pills, and that she had concerns, I'm just saying that's what she documented. So, if you feel like that's not accurate, you might have to, address that with her.
As far as my medical records go, she stated to me that as soon as the medication was weaned down to a level, and that's why she had put me on the tramadol, because I wasn't getting the same pain management from the Subutex because I had weaned down off of it. That was the reason that I was put on the tramadol, because I have a history of preterm labor, and the medication used for preterm labor I'm allergic to. I cannot take it. And so that was, she said as soon as that was taken care of, I could go back to Dr. Neef.
But I'm just saying, I'm telling you what she's documenting,
right.
And that's not what she's documenting.
Okay.
I'm just being forthcoming with that's the information she's providing to us.
Right. Okay, well, I guess my question is, because, I know that all of the medication was prescribed, and, I took it as prescribed. I even proved with a drug test that I was not, overtaking medication. It was a hair strand test. I'm assuming those are more accurate than, urine tests. And I just, I don't understand as far as the allegations of physical abuse in the beginning, because I had a prescription and I clearly showed it to the investigator who was here, who even noted that there was still, a lot of medication in the bottle, and it was a month later. So, I don't know how it could have been ruled as physical abuse in the beginning, because I had a prescription for it, and I've done a drug test that shows that there was, I wasn't taking anything other than what was prescribed.
Anytime a child becomes addicted, that's why I called it an investigation. It comes as physical and medical. life, not the physical abuse. So you are correct, the physical abuse is undetermined.
Okay, now as far as like the withdrawal symptoms and stuff that the doctor stated, Kylie actually is an expert as far as babies withdrawing from medication, and that's one of the questions that I was going to have you ask her as far as, what percentage of babies, and that it happens a lot even without medication. It could be other substances other than that. I mean, I was just speaking to Kylie about that the other day on the phone as far as what babies withdraw from, and if I had stopped taking the medication, what could have happened to her. So I don't know if you could ask her that question as far as, I mean, I know the doctors have their opinions, but she knows about that specific medication. So I didn't know if you could ask her.
I mean, she can tell us. Is she the person on the phone right now?
Yes.
She can tell us. Yes, she can offer her input, yes. Yeah, and I don't want to speak out of turn. Maybe it would be helpful to give a little bit of background about what National Organics for Pregnant Women focuses on. So a lot of the work that we do is with national organizations like the American Medical Association and the National Perinatal Association. And so a lot of cases come to us. Most recently, a case in the New Jersey Supreme Court in which the question for the court was, can a mother be held liable for abuse and neglect, civil child abuse and neglect, based on her receipt of methadone treatment during the course of her pregnancy. So, in conjunction with several medical experts, both in the state of New Jersey and nationally, including what I mentioned, the National Perinatal Association, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and so on and so forth, we wrote a brief explaining the real public health dangers of discouraging women from receiving treatment while pregnant. So a lot of our work is around medication-assisted treatment, including the kind of treatment that Christina has been receiving for 4 years. The only way that she could have avoided being reported to CPS by her healthcare professional, it sounds like, is if she had stopped taking the Subutex. And if she had stopped taking the Subutex during her pregnancy, she really could have risked miscarrying or having a spontaneous abortion, which is why no physicians would recommend her doing that. So she's kind of between this rock and a hard place where you continue your medically recommended course of treatment and risk being reported to CPS for something that's not only legal, but the issue is not just the issue of Subutex. I mean, that's not the issue that we're trying to understand. That it was the tramadol. That's 3 other medications she was on. The doctor's saying that she was disclosing from one to the other. So I would agree with you as far as the methadone or Subutex, whatever. It's not just about that drug, because you're correct. We deal with lots of mothers who have those issues, and we work with the doctors with that. The unknown is these other medications and why they're being prescribed, and how one doctor didn't know about the other doctor, and why that was occurring. I think that was really what the focus of the investigation was, not that she was on from a methadone.
But they did know about each other, because it's in my medical records that states that they had each other's phone numbers. I mean, it's in the medical records.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying to you is that these doctors are denying that. So that's an issue you need to address with them directly if you feel like they're not being forthcoming with that. But the doctors are all documented that one didn't know about the other, and one didn't know about the level of the other, and what their concerns are.
Okay, but if it's in my medical records, isn't that if it's in the medical records, isn't that proof enough? I mean, if they're conflicting information between them, that's because they didn't call each other. That I made them aware in my medical record. It states right there on paper that they knew about each other. Now, if they're stating something else later on, that's on them. I can't say what they're doing, but.
Right. But what I'm saying to you is that they're documenting concerns that they feel like you have drug-seeking behavior, and that's what the department's focusing on, is helping you with services and to decide and to provide some intervention so that in the future, we don't have these things, re-emerging. Because, you have been on Subutex for a while, and, your other younger teacher did not come out with any type of withdrawal, which That's the norm. If you take it as you're prescribed, most kids don't withdraw. The percentage, I believe, that the doctor quoted is about 30% of children can have a withdrawal.
Wait a minute, Kylie, can you, okay, so you're saying that if I had taken the prescribed amount or less than that, that the baby would not have withdrawn from that medication?
No, what I'm saying is that it's the combination of all the other medications. You're just not on one medication.
Well, when I spoke
You're on several.
I was on tramadol and I was on the Subutex. The other ones were prescribed and I did not take them. But I had spoke to Dr. Neef yesterday about this, and I asked him. I said, "Well, there was something conflicting with the tramadol," and he stated, "Well, I had prescribed you that because you were having the contractions and in and out of the hospital, and that's why you were taking the tramadol." And I said, "Okay, well, that's what I needed to know because there's conflicting information from you and from someone else stating the reason that I was taking the tramadol was not a medical reason." And it was a medical reason because he stood there and told me that the reason I was on the tramadol was to calm the contractions. And that was in conjunction with the muscle relaxer that I did not take because it made me tired. So, and I had, children to take care of, so I couldn't take medication that was going to make me tired.
And this is Kylie again. I certainly understand that it's not just about the medication-assisted treatment. That was a really helpful explanation to know that it was the Subutex in conjunction with the tramadol. But at the end of the day, the onus is not on it's not on the client or the patient. It's on the doctors. And again, she was taking prescribed medication, totally valid, totally legal, and now she's in this sticky situation where she can voluntarily comply with services that are fairly clear that she doesn't need, or she's totally terrified that her children are going to be removed.
Oh, well, wait a minute, I'm not saying that I'm not complying with services. I never said that. I'm calling because I'm wanting to know for sure before I get into any services what the allegations were against me. And I was not clearly stated, I was told that it was unable to determine whether risk indicated, but now here you go with this reason to believe that I didn't even have a clue about. So, I mean, I didn't.
If there were more clarity from the physicians involved in the case, would CPS deem that further services were still necessary if we were able to clear up the confusion between the physicians? No, we still want to recommend service because, again, we still have the domestic violence. We still have more than one professional. We have two doctors.
That was a year and a half ago. The domestic violence was a year and a half ago. The police were notified, and they came out and they even noted that there was no physical violence, that the only thing that happened was I tried to take his keys, and even my daughter stated that in the recording.
Right, correct. And I've looked at her statement. Again, it's the totality of the picture. It's the fact that we have a doctor. If you want to, talk to your doctor and say that their recommendations are incorrect, I mean, I can't stop that and could recommend to any parent to do what they need to advocate for themselves. But what I'm saying to you is that and this is a little confusing to me, to help me understand this. If you are in need of this medication, even prior to your pregnancy, and have been on medication for, these type of issues,
Because I did wean off of it. I weaned off of it before the pregnancy was over with. Before my daughter was born, I weaned down to a very low dose. I was on like 3 milligrams the day she was born. So I weaned off of the medication, and then the remaining medication that I had weaned off of, with that, and went from taking half of one of the tablets to a half of one. So I did wean myself down off of it. I'm sorry, what did you say?
You say that even though you've been on this medication for many years, and now that you bring yourself down to that dosage that you no longer need any type of medication.
I'm not stating that I don't need to see a pain management doctor. Yes, because I do have chronic back pain from a car accident that flipped the car 3 times. But with all of this going on, I'm not going to expose myself to anything else. I mean, these are my children. I would rather be in pain than lose my children. I'm sorry. You know, that's just...
But at no point have we ever, just to make clear, at no point have we ever even discussed this page for legal removal at all. I mean, we've always talked about doing what's right for the kids.
There was never discussed...
For the parents.
The removal was never discussed? The day before Thanksgiving, when I came into your guys' office and my children were put in a playroom, and I was told by Natalie Davis herself that my children were going to be removed from the home if I did not find voluntary placement for them. So yes, there was a discussion about removal.
Okay. I'll speak to her about that.
I mean, yes, I was told that my children were going to be taken from me, and they were separated from me and put in a playroom. While she talked, is this Nympha that I'm talking to? While she discussed with you where to voluntarily place the children, because I specifically asked if I was able to go to a shelter with my children so that way I could be supervised with them. And then the conclusion was my husband was able to take them. And I was allowed to be here supervised. But in return, like at the very beginning when it first started, my children were going to be taken from me. And that was the day before Thanksgiving. So... yeah, there was a discussion about them being removed. Sorry.
And so was there a discussion about maybe doing a parental child safety placement in the beginning? And there was an option or something, and then so therefore the department initially was at that, right? So maybe that is what she means by them taken from the home. Like they initially saw it placed. Can you explain that a little bit? Yeah, I mean, initially we were doing, when the baby was in the hospital, we didn't have any of the reports from the doctors. We asked them to do a parental child safety placement, not the baby, because the baby was in the hospital, but the younger children. But there was nobody that just find that would pat the background or that could take the children or assist the family. So at that point, since Dad was negative on oral swab, he was saying he was not aware that there was a concern about the medications. And so then at that point, the safety plan that the dad would be the one supervising the contact.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, Ms. Pena, you and your attorney are going to be getting with the doctors basically to seek some clarification. Is that correct?
Yes,
that's correct. Okay. And then, at this point, Ms. Pena, are you stating that you're not willing to work services? Because you kind of went back and forth with me yesterday on that. Are you wanting to participate in our services that we offer to you?
Well, my concern is my children. If I have to comply to keep my children in my home, then yes, I'll comply. If my children aren't going to be removed and I'm just going to be court ordered to take services, then, I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because, my children are my life and I don't want them taken from me. So, I will do what I have to do in order to keep my children in the home. So if there's going to be a removal of my children, then, I don't have a choice but to comply.
Okay. So I guess you kind of talked around that too. So you're voluntarily willing to participate in services with us?
As long as, if my children are not going to be removed from my home if I don't comply, that's my question. Are my children going to be removed if I don't?
Well, if you're not willing to work services, then we're going to speak with our legal representatives about what we need to do at that point. And I don't really know what we're going to do at that point until we talk with our legal representative. This is Kylie again. Could we get a brief review of what the additional services that you would be expecting Christina to participate in would be? Sure, and I'll present that. I'm Stacy Barfield, I'm the fbss supervisor. The services that we've requested were substance abuse treatment, and that is based on the information received by Dr. Patel, because he did recommend treatment for random drug screens, domestic violence, and anger management, and that's for both parents, and that can be done in counseling sessions for individual and couples, and protective daycare for the children, and that's so that we can put the kids in daycare during the day so that mom and dad can do services and not say, well, we've got to watch the kids all day, we can't participate in services. So we can pay for daycare while they participate in services.
But isn't that breaking?
If they're able to find daycare on their own, is the protective daycare necessary? Is it a necessary part of the equation if the services are actually for Christina entrepreneur? If they can pay for daycare on their own, that's absolutely fine. But I mean, if she's paying for someone to supervise her and that's a financial hardship, I would assume daycare would be as well. I understand, but as long as not having her children in protective daycare is an option, I think that's something that we'd like to explore. So everything else is very clear aside from the treatment services. So what would that be? Would that be returning to Subutex? Would that be and whatever the recommendations of that assessment is, we would ask that she follow through with those recommendations.
Okay, now I was told. Sorry.
Is the person who does the drug and alcohol assessment someone who works with your CPS agency, or is it an independent person? It is an independent agency outside of the department. Okay.
Now I have a question as well.
I just wanted to clarify, when we say protected daycare, it doesn't mean that's just daycares that are within the community that we pay for the daycare. That's what protected daycare is. And I want to be clear, because I don't know if you're aware of what our protected daycare actually is. It's not like that we have our own people or whatever. We pay regular stuff that we're paying for the daycare. That's what protected daycare is.
Okay. Well, I was told by Sarah that if I did this other hair follicle in UA and it was passed, that supervision would be lifted.
Continue to advocate for you, and she asked me several times. She said that she wanted your supervision to be lifted, and I said, well, you know what, let's send her for a hair strand in the UA.
Okay, so if I do the hair strand in the UA and they come back negative, then I can be taken off of supervision.
But not since the case has been open to me. Yes, you're correct. And so since then, some time has passed, and so for me, you're asking me to lift your supervision, and so I ask that you participate in a hair strand in the UA. I have absolutely no problem with considering lifting your supervision whatsoever. Just give me a hair strand in the UA.
Okay, now my question is also, because my husband works 12 to 14 hours a day. He has to support a family of 6 people. So my question is, what do we do as far as him taking services? Because how many days a week is that going to be required of us to take couples counseling or domestic violence counseling? How many days a week is it?
Okay. We pay for 12 sessions. Generally, the providers are very flexible. So, do it this week, but he knows his work schedule. He's got an opening next week, and they'll schedule something for next week. We pay for 12 sessions. It doesn't mean that it has to take place every single week, based on his work. Okay? And Stacy, I will tell you this. Mr. Simondo, I think would benefit from Spanish-speaking services. Ms. I'll make you feel different. And so we can provide, I know Tina and Dallas have some Spanish-speaking providers that would provide, therapy in the weekends for those type of clients. But I think she would benefit from Spanish-speaking service read in English. Absolutely. I didn't know that, so that's perfect.
Okay. Now, is there an expiration date set on these services? I mean, like how the safety plan is, it has like a date on it that says, it started this time and it ends this time. Is there a date on it as well?
Anyway, yes. I mean, what that is that's a time frame for you to either complete it or not. And then we revisit it and we talk to you about what's the hold up, has there been a problem, has there been a hardship?
But there is a date on there as far as when they stop.
Every 3 months. Okay. think she's asking for a time frame, and family-based safety services is the purpose is to, lead the family as quickly as we can after we provide them the services needed. That the case is reviewed every 3 months. Right. And I can't give you a time frame. I can't say that your case will be closed in 3 months or 6 months. So a lot of it is dependent on you and your relative success.
Okay, can you give me the hours to the lab that I'm supposed to go to? And I have the address from Sarah.
Okay, they close it, or they stop taking samples at 4:30 p.m.
Okay, now is there any way that I can go do this on Monday? Because, I mean, it's kind of late in the afternoon, so.
I'm not sure. Let me see if, well, when were you asked to go do it?
I'm sorry?
When were you asked to complete that?
I mean, I can go today if it's necessary, but I mean, I'd rather go do it Monday.
To answer your question, Kayla, according to Sarah, she was asked to submit to the hair stand on Wednesday. Yeah, so we would like for you to do that today.
Okay, because she didn't tell me a time. I asked Sarah when I could go and do it, and she said any time, and she gave me the address.
Well, the thing about it is when we ask our clients to go do that, we don't just keep it open-ended, because there are several ways that clients try to tamper with a drug test, too. So we normally request that they do it within 24 hours.
Okay, well, I can go get that done then today. That's not a problem.
Yeah, and part of the delay was that Christina had called me and I wasn't able to get back to her until yesterday, so I'm happy to take partial responsibility for that. But yes, Christina, if you can go today, that would be great. Okay, so let's see, are we trying to on a better understanding of where everybody is, or is there something else that we need to discuss?
Well, I mean, no, I mean, again, with the conflicting information from the doctors, I don't totally agree, but, in order to keep my children in the home, then I'll comply with whatever I have to do.
Okay, well, why don't you and your attorney, if you I'm not telling you what to do, but if you all choose to pick out the doctors and we can get clarification on that, then I guess we can go from there, but I think you also have an understanding now today that there are some other concerns, not just that.
Well, I mean, I don't really understand that either because that was from a year and a half ago. So, I mean, that was past allegations. The police were called, a report was made, me and my husband have sat down and, discussed our communication since then, and like I said, that was a while back, and there was no, previous or anything that was happening right now, and my daughter even stated that in her interview at midnight. So
Christina, you and I can continue discussing this.
okay.
It's been very helpful, I think, for both of us to get a better understanding of what the allegations are and get a fuller picture of what's happening. We will certainly consult with the physicians involved, and we'll try to clarify that, and we'll be in touch with you. And Christina will go ahead and submit the screen today so that hopefully we can reassess the supervision as soon as possible.
Okay.
And this has been very helpful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
You there, Kylie? Hello. Bella, stop. Yes, can I speak to Patty, please? Thank you. Thank you for stopping me, because I really wanted to go off on her. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Right. 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 Okay, I will definitely do that. Right. Right. Well, I mean, the thing is, like I said, I spoke to Dr. Neef the other day, and he was like, "Well, CPS takes care of little babies," and da da da. And I just kind of looked at him, and I was like, "Well, the medication that I was on, you were aware. If you did not contact that doctor, that's not my problem." I said, "But they're showing, conflicting information." I said, "Because you had me on the tramadol, you had me, you knew that I was taking the Subutex, but yet." Now you're telling them something completely different, and it's falling against me. I said, and you've known me for, more than 3 years now as a patient, and you've seen me with my children. And he's like, oh, and I even told them I didn't think you were a threat to your children. And see, they're not saying anything like that, and now they're throwing a reason to believe at me. I didn't even know that. I mean, oh my God, that they could come in here with a freaking court order and yank this baby out of here right now. Just because they have a reason to believe. So, right, right, after his room shot a week after he got a seizure and went from completely verbal, happy, talking to little boy to sitting in the corner flapping his hands. So, right, 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 right. Oh, I've heard. I mean, I've heard. My cousin, she's a pediatric nurse, and she tells me the same thing all the time. And I'm like, but Mandy, from personal experience, I went. It's a weird coincidence that a year later he had, or a week later he had a seizure. I'm sorry, this one's like really mad at me. But a week later he had. Right. So, I mean, I'm scared to death because I don't agree with their allegations, and if I signed their service plan, I'm gonna be stuck with them in my life for God only knows how long. She even sat there and said. Okay, now, as far as this pro bono or lawyer thing, like here, have you found anything yet? Mhm. Okay, so I mean, even if I do say, sign this safety plan, am I able to revoke it since it's voluntary? Because I mean, I like the way she said it, because I even said, well, if I don't comply, are you going to take the kids out of the home? And she didn't answer. But then again, the other lady said, oh, well, we've never said that we were going to take your kids out of the house. And, bitch of the world is saying something completely different, you know? So, well, I mean, this reason to believe thing, how can they just, you know, they didn't even tell me. And the only reason that it's a reason to believe is because there was two OBGYNs, and like I said, one of them was she was the, you know, the one before Dr. Neef. I mean, I didn't know it was against the law to change OBGYNs because one didn't deliver at a different hospital, but I wasn't going to two at the same time, you know, but see, you know, they're throwing a reason to believe because I went to one OBGYN and then was released to go to a regular one that was closer, so, I just, I hope I make it there, cause I've gotta go get the kids from school at 3:30, so. Okay. Alrighty. Alright. I'm just, I don't know, I'm scared to death of what they're gonna do. I mean,